you have talked to your employer and verified and confirmed their intention to allow you to work remotely indefinitely. So what does that mean to you? No more boundaries. Life is not going to dictate where you live based off your job anymore. So you can move anywhere you want. Your idea of where you could live is only as small as your imagination. Fort Collins could be an option for you, whether you're coming from Denver, Hawaii, or the United Kingdom. It is people from all over the country who are moving everywhere. The great relocation is going to be one of the things that comes from COVID 2020 and housing prices 2020, 2021, and into 2022. But today, if you are considering moving to Fort Collins, Colorado, these are going to be 5 things to consider when relocating to Fort Collins. And maybe they will help you and your family make a decision if Fort Collins is right for you. What's up? My name is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services here in Fort Collins. I am a licensed real estate agent, so if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest, give me a call, text, or email. But today, hopefully this video gives you some ideas, things to consider when looking at Fort Collins. And to start off, we're gonna look at some honorable mentions. Now recently I talked with a client coming in from California, and they've actually moved here to northern Colorado. They're currently renting, looking to buy once they get a lay of the land. But one of the big reasons they moved away from California is their water issues. And all of that coming from their population growth and drought, you name it, California has significant water issues. Well, Colorado definitely has water issues of their own. Whether you're talking about the NISP project and Glade Reservoir, that was a huge topic of debate where they were wanting to build a reservoir 3 times the size of Horsetooth Reservoir to accommodate the population growth of northern Colorado, but it would put a more strain on an already strained river in Poudre River, which then Wellington is a place of massive growth. But just in the last couple of years, their utility bills and water tap fees have tripled because their treatment plant for their water is not up to capacity for the amount of population and people that are moving there. So that's something that is in the works. They are getting it built and ready for the population of Wellington. But then Thornton is pulling water from the Poudre River, and it is called the Thornton Pipeline, and they're having massive issues dealing with all of the different counties that they're having to move this pipeline through. But it is their water. They bought it in 1985. So Fort Collins and northern Colorado is seeing its own fair share of water issues. So something to take into consideration if you are looking at moving here. Some of our largest employers, if you are looking at taking your MBA, or if you are a retired military or looking at changing careers, some of our largest employers are Colorado State University, UC Health, Banner, City of Fort Collins, Larimer County, Woodward Governor, Broadcom, Otterbox. Those are some of our largest employers. And if you want, definitely feel free to reach out to me, get some more information about what they are doing. But healthcare, education, and government are some of our largest employers here in northern Colorado, followed by some tech opportunities in those companies mentioned. So now, the five things to know when relocating to Fort Collins, Colorado. These are 5 things that hopefully help you and your family understand Fort Collins a little bit better. Fort Collins is ultimately a pretty small place. It's grown tremendously from when my parents moved here in the 60s, where Prospect Road was the furthest road south, and now you can go all the way to Carpenter. But our population is just under 200,000 people, right around 175,000 people. But if you take Larimer County and Weld County together, we're right around 700,000 people, expected to reach 1 million within the next 10 to 20 years. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot to somebody coming from, California or Los Angeles or New York, but for Fort Collins, it is a big number, and our population has swelled pretty significantly. Now, the majority of that population is white. We have about a 90% population that is white. Now, I have noticed, a pretty significant amount of people from, and it's pretty cool just because culturally I think there's a lot of mixed race couples, but a lot of people coming in and having questions about, what are people's perceptions of people from different backgrounds, races, religions. And I think ultimately Fort Collins is a pretty friendly place and open to and welcoming of many people. Now, there's always jerks on everywhere you go, but I think Fort Collins has maybe a smaller amount of jerks. But one of the things that population does is allows for a more viable airport. Fort Collins Loveland Airport just recently started having flights from Avail Airlines from Fort Collins to Burbank, Hollywood, and also Las Vegas. Hopefully there are more, and actually here in the next couple of years, there is a second terminal that will be built at the Fort Collins Loveland Airport. So I think our expectations are that we will have more commercial flights in the near future. So it's super exciting for those that live here and want to go commute. And from my doorstep to the doorstep of the airport was 12 minutes. So pretty cool when traveling. Speaking about traveling, number 2, the average commute in Fort Collins is about 20 minutes, which is actually just about what my commute is when I'm not leaving for the gym super early mornings. If I'm coming home on a Friday afternoon, I work in downtown Fort Collins and I live in southeast Fort Collins, and I can pretty much expect it to be a 20-minute drive. In my head, I keep thinking it's like a 15-minute drive, so I tell my wife, hey, I'll be home at 4, leave the office, at 3:45 or something like that, and somehow I'm always 5 minutes late. And I think it just results from being born and raised here in Fort Collins, and nothing in Fort Collins was longer than a 15-minute commute. Now, if you've watched these videos and you've followed along, and if you're a subscriber to the channel, thank you very much. And if you've liked this video, you should do so already, or do so now. But you may have known, or I've told you, that I bought my first house in Loveland, Colorado in 2012, which it was about a 25-minute drive to work, and that was just ridiculous. Honestly, I felt like I was spending my life in my car, which I know, again, perspective is something that we speak on a lot on this channel, but 25 minutes is just not that big of a deal. But for me, being born and raised in Fort Collins in the middle of town, it just was something that I wasn't willing to do with my life. So having an average commute in Fort Collins now of 20 minutes, I'm a little bit more used to it. And I think now that, I'm doing a little bit more driving, commuting anyways for work, it just becomes kind of second nature. So the average commute in Fort Collins is about 20 minutes. For me, it's 7 miles from my house to downtown Fort Collins. And then I'm pretty far southeast Fort Collins. Now, as far south, when you are west of Timberline, that the Cooter School District goes, up to Trilby, basically. And my mom lives about as far north as you can get, out past Terry Lakes. And it takes me at least 30 to 35 minutes, depending on traffic, to get to her house. So there is a little bit of a drive from the farthest south side of Fort Collins to the farthest north side of Fort Collins. We are a sprawled out community, so take that into consideration. Which is also kind of interesting to talk about people who are moving here from all over the country, and they look at the map and they see Greeley, Fort Collins, and Loveland, and they think that they're all very, very close. I should say Loveland, Greeley, Fort Collins, but they think they're all very, very close. But in reality, for me, from Fort Collins, you could easily drive 30 to 45 minutes to get from Fort Collins to Greeley, and in between that have a significant amount of farmland, flatland, plains type deal. So it's not just these communities and cities that are butted up against each other. There is some distance between the cities. So you are not just, one city on top of another. There are some space between. Now they are growing closer and closer together, but far, far away from having them all be kind of one tri-city area. Number 3, I think if you're considering moving here and having the ability to remote work indefinitely, or looking to find employment here in Fort Collins in northern Colorado, you still will probably have the ability to work from home, or a lot of your life is spent online. And Fort Collins was very forward-thinking pre-COVID, but we passed a municipally funded fiber internet that is very, very affordable. It is gig speeds for about $70 a month, $60, but then you have the modem for an extra $10 a month. And that is throughout Fort Collins. Now there are pockets, but they are supposedly supposed to finish the build out in 2022, which means every house in Fort Collins, Colorado will have internet speed available to them. Now that doesn't mean that Comcast isn't there, CenturyLink, anything like that, but We just actually switched over to Connections just about 2 months ago, and I love it. And very thankful. I'm actually saving about $90 a month from and getting much, much better internet up and down speeds. So if you're considering moving here, that's something that's huge. We have a municipally funded fiber internet dedicated to each house. The lines have already been brought. Now, throughout 2022, they will complete those, but it is a great way to be present and not have any issues when you are working remotely and maybe your company's in California or New York or Georgia. So that is pretty exciting for a person potentially moving to Fort Collins. Now, as much as Fort Collins grows, we are still a college campus community. 30,000 people at CSU, so basically 1 in 6 people are a student. And with that comes significant economic benefits, housing, rental, entrepreneurial spirit, very young, spirited, energetic vibes, but also 8,400 jobs are produced by having that college campus here in Fort Collins. So as much as we grow into this kind of individual city with lots of different identities, our backbone is still Colorado State University. And with that, we're very grateful. Go Rams, our basketball team's great. Excited about having a new football coach. I graduated from there with a degree in accounting. Lots of friends go there, family, and very excited about the school, what it's doing, friends working there, professors, and in different areas. And so love me some CSU, very grateful to be there and proud to be a part of it. And finally, I think this is one that I love seeing and hate seeing the opposite side, but I think there is, one of the things we talked about a little bit earlier in this video is no matter where you go, there's gonna be jerks. I think there's just this population that just are either had a bad day or just perpetually not very nice. But Fort Collins may have just a smaller percentage of people like that, possibly, or I just am fortunate that I haven't kind of ran into too many of those. But lots of what I talk about when I'm in business, so I am a licensed real estate agent here in Fort Collins, and I deal with a lot of different agents and companies here in town, and having to, produce a business and reputation because it's such a small town that if you are an asshole or, kind of a shithead, it will get out really quick that the way you do business doesn't have any integrity or any character, which I love. So Fort Collins is this place where we've got clients that came from Boston. They just said one of the things that they noticed is all the servers are nice. They're all very friendly people, and I love hearing that. But I will hear every once in a while in the comments of somebody who came and visited here and just what a jerk and snobbish community that Fort Collins is. Now, I can tell you that what is interesting is having a Fort Collins address is becoming more and more, bougie, I guess you would say. But my fear is that people take kind of that Boulder mentality, if that makes sense. The one thing I don't necessarily think we want to become here as far as locals is a Boulder 2.0. Not that there's anything horribly wrong about Boulder. It is beautiful, gorgeous, but it does have a reputation for some snobbish type people because the only people who can afford there when you have $1 million average housing price is people who are making significant money and might think that their shit doesn't stink. So Fort Collins has to defend its integrity and its background and understand and protect those that are from Fort Collins and work here and need to produce, a restaurant manager type salary and has a difficult time affording our housing. There is a lot of focus on building affordable housing, whereas, a portion of these developments might allow for only 60% of the area median income to buy these houses. It's a deed restricted type development. So Fort Collins does have that in mind, but ultimately I think Fort Collins has this really friendly atmosphere where people are excited to be here, and I hope that if you're coming here, you bring the hopes and desires to kind of fit in and want to have the smile on your face and hopefully leave back some of that kind of frustrations and kind of scowls that you might have to give to people wherever you are coming from, whether that be Chicago or, Florida negotiations or whatever that might be. I'm not saying that there's anywhere that's a bad place to be. I'm just saying that Fort Collins is a very vibrant place and very, very friendly people. And hopefully with population growth, we continue to see people just loving one another and being happy to be here. So those are some things to consider if you are thinking about moving to Fort Collins, Colorado. So I hope this video has helped you and help you and your family's decision if you are considering moving to Fort Collins, Colorado. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to comment below or give me a text, email, or call. And if you're considering buying or selling or investing here in Northern Colorado, I am a licensed real estate agent, would love to talk to you, so give me a call, text, or email. I've got your back. And until next time, guys, take care.